Okay, so today we're going to take the time to put together a fuel cell for an EFI Mustang that's going to be ready to go and drop into Project Wide Fox. So if you remember back when the 92 got wrecked, I kept all the EFI pieces out of the car that I'm going to swap into the wide body. So what you see in front of you is an 86 or 87 to 93 EFI fuel tank that has the sender, the fuel pump. Obviously over here is the piece going in for the gas. And then on the top, I've got a little bit of surface rust that I want to take care of. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get the fuel sender and the fuel pump out so that I can at least lighten this out. I'm going to take off the input here, and then I want to get this thing cleaned and painted so that I can stop the surface rust before putting everything back together. Now, if you remember how to take off the sender itself, it's just basically a ring that's pressed in there under some detent. So you can take just a hammer, a screwdriver, and just tap that around till the ring, I guess, dislodges. Pull the ring off, and then take the sender out. Okay, so now that I've got those pieces out of the way, what I'm going to do is just use my shop vac to basically suck off all the dirt that I can. And that will get it from, rather than blowing it out and making it go up in the air and basically, or potentially go back down in the fuel tank, I'll just use a shop vac to basically clean off as much dirt as I can, especially around the holes and that, so that it doesn't go in the tank. Then I need to get the last of the gas that's in the tank out. Okay, so now that the tank is cleaned off, I'm just going to put some duct tape basically over the holes. That way it'll keep me from knocking dirt back in there, because I need to go through and scrub this. And probably just use like a wire brush to basically clean off anything I can. Either more dirt and get the surface rust off. Then I can re-vacuum it, clean it up, and then really I'm just going to spray it with the rust, anything with some basically rust encapsulating paint, essentially on the top. So cover, clean, paint, and then start getting ready to put the fuel cell back together. Okay, with everything covered, now it's just time to take it outside. That way I don't spread around dirt in the shop. I'll spread it around outside. Okay, so the whole goal of bringing this outside and basically scrubbing it is I want to get the surface rust, as much of it off that I don't have to deal with it. Also, it's outside, so I don't have to worry about kind of kicking dust everywhere in the house or the shop, really. So these are the detail brushes I've been using. They're just like a light steel. Got a thinner one for around the edges, thicker one for basically just getting all over. The goal is just to knock all the dirt and rust off that you can, and then get ready for paints, which means you'll be cleaning it. Remember the 2 steps, patience and prep for painting, and then it's a matter of putting it back together. Okay, once you think you're in a good place, get your shop vac out, clean all the dust off, and start wiping it down. Okay, so with everything now painted, it's a matter of just letting it dry. So I'm going to leave it in the sun, kind of vent these out. That way it doesn't build up pressure or anything. But these will be vented out because this tank's sitting in the sun, obviously. Just let it go, let it dry, and then we'll check the underside after that. Okay, so once you have your fuel tank dried, now I did paint mine top and bottom, so it is black. If I show you, black on the bottom also, and that took about 1 complete can of the anti-rust spray. Now it's just Rust-Oleum anti-rust basically, and it's just the black satin. Once you have everything dried, you can then start getting ready to reassemble. So now each of these, of the sender and the fuel pump hole, do have a rubber grommet, which if you want to, you can buy these. Now this is NPD, or National Parts Depot, carries these, so I bought one for each to go in there for new replacements. At this point, if you're building a fuel tank or replacing the fuel pump at least for more power, you can now put that in. Mine already has a Edelbrock 155 liter per hour, which is enough to support what I'm doing. That should support me up above 300 horsepower, which is plenty for this car. So I'm going to leave that alone for now and just reinstall everything. So reassembly is pretty much the same thing as taking it out. New gaskets go in, piece goes in, and just take your time putting it in. Snap ring over, and then hammer and the screwdriver, just basically twist it on and hold it in place. So also one thing to be sure of, the sender itself has tongs in the lip down there. You'll notice when you do yours, make sure those tongs line up, and then the sender is going to go towards you. I guess if you're standing from, I guess this is the front side here, so this is the back. So it should go towards the front of the car. So once you have your piece put in place, you're then just going to put in snap ring, and it's going to go down and in. Now, and you notice on these, the snap ring itself, while it's got some low parts, it actually has some fingers that kind of come up, and those are you're gonna twist that going clockwise all the way around until it hits the detents here. So you're just gonna twist those all the way around until it stops, and then you know it's in. Okay, so if you've got any residual dirt or grease or anything else in your lip here, you can just take a towel, clean it out just like that. And you're just going to wipe it out. And just make sure you don't knock it down in the tank. Be patient with it. Wipe it up, especially in the groove where the rubber O-ring goes. Definitely want to make sure that's clean. Okay, again, another new O-ring. Now these are only $1, so take the time to replace them now versus later, because you never know if these things are going to fail if you let them go way too long. For $1, man, they're cheap insurance. So one thing to keep in mind, by having your gas tank nozzle open, the pump itself should sit down in a baffled tank. So if you look down in here, you're going to kind of see a pocket, a cup. And that is meant to hold gas from when it's sloshing back and forth. It keeps the pump always full of fuel. So if you're having trouble getting this in, you can look down in here and see that pocket and make sure the pump itself goes down in the cup. And that way, it always has gas. So I'm having a little bit of trouble. I need to look down inside and make sure it fits, but it will fit. Okay, so once your fuel pump is back in and your ring is on, and it goes on the same way. You can then put on your sub harness. So red goes to the fuel pump, and it should have some dielectric grease in there. If it doesn't for any reason, add some in there. You can pick that up for, I don't know, $1 or something. Add a little bit in there, and that just helps seals the electrical connection so it stays solid. That should be pushed down and snap. Your gray is going to go to your sender. That'll push down and snap. Now, for your gas going in, you should have a seal for that. Now, if this is in bad shape, if it's cracked or anything else, I'd say replace it now versus trying to replace it later. It's a whole lot easier when it's out. This is just going to go in. Once it's all the way in, you can put your filled nozzle back in. Now, I'm just going to put mine in there for now because I'm going to take it back out when I put it back in the car, but this will at least keep dirt out of it. So this is just going to fit in there snugly, and it's got kind of a rib here, a detent on it, so you want to push that all the way in till it contacts. Just like that. So that is the way to restore your fuel pump. Now this will have plenty of power, or will support plenty of power, and you can always go up obviously in pump size if you need to. If you need ever to change a sender or a harness or anything else, this will tell you how to revamp your whole fuel system, at least starting with the fuel tank. Now I've got the lines and everything else to go with it, but at least this, now that it's painted, will not corrode anymore, and this will be great for another 30 years for this car, if it makes it that long. That is it for this time. I will see you next time. From Basin Motorsports, out.